Welcome to the Ice Age. Imagine a world so cold that much of the land was covered in thick ice sheets. It was a place where snow fell often and temperatures stayed frigid all year long. The Ice Age wasn't just a single cold snap, it lasted for thousands of years, shaping the land and the animals that lived on it. During this time, enormous, shaggy creatures called woolly mammoths roamed the frozen plains. These mighty animals were related to modern-day elephants, but they were adapted for a much harsher environment. Woolly mammoths had long, shaggy fur and a layer of fat under their skin, almost like they were wearing nature's warmest winter coat. Let's take a closer look at these amazing creatures. Woolly mammoths were massive. They could stand up to 13 feet tall, which is taller than a one-story building. Their fur, as thick as a cozy blanket, helped them survive the freezing temperatures. Believe it or not, a woolly mammoth's fur could grow up to 3 feet long. Imagine a yardstick covered in thick, fuzzy hair. And those huge, curved tusks. Their tusks were impressive tools that could grow up to 15 feet long. Woolly mammoths used their tusks in many ways. They would dig through layers of snow and ice to find food, like tough grasses and shrubs that managed to grow in the cold. Sometimes, they'd even use their tusks to break ice on frozen rivers or lakes so they could drink water. But woolly mammoths weren't the only giants around. They shared the Ice Age world with other big creatures like saber-toothed cats and giant ground sloths. It was a world full of fascinating animals, each adapted to the chilly climate in its own way. Life wasn't just about survival for the mammoths. They also had family and friendships. Mammoths were social creatures, living in large groups called herds. Picture a big, close-knit family with grandmothers, mothers, aunts, and, of course, the babies. Herd life was important because it offered protection from predators like saber-toothed cats and wolves. Young mammoths would play together, learning by watching the older members of the herd. They practiced digging for food, trumpeting loudly, and even using their trunks to communicate. Just like humans, each mammoth had its own personality. Some were adventurous, while others were cautious. Mothers and aunts were always watching over the young ones, teaching them how to survive in this icy world. What do you think woolly mammoths ate? You might picture an animal this big munching on trees and leaves like an elephant, but their diet was a little different. In the cold, grassy plains, they found tough grasses, shrubs, and herbs that could survive the freezing temperatures. They needed a lot of food to fuel their large bodies, so they spent much of their day eating sometimes over 300 pounds of food a day. With their long, strong trunks, they could pull up plants and scoop snow out of the way. If they got lucky, they'd find a bit of moss or even mushrooms hidden under the snow. Winter was tough though, and food could be hard to find. In times of scarcity, mammoths might have to travel long distances to reach food-rich areas, showing us just how adaptable and resilient they were. But the world of the woolly mammoths didn't stay the same forever. As the Ice Age slowly ended, the Earth began to warm up. The glaciers and ice sheets that once covered so much of the land started to melt, and new plants and animals appeared. While the warm weather might sound nice, it actually created new challenges for the mammoths. With less ice around, their habitats began to shrink, and the plants they relied on started to disappear. The warming climate also brought competition with other animals that were better suited to the new environment. Sadly, these changes made it harder and harder for the woolly mammoths to survive. Scientists believe that a combination of a warming climate and human hunting eventually led to their extinction. Imagine early humans hunting in groups to gather food and resources. They would have used mammoth bones for tools and tusks for carving, which helped them in their own survival. Today, the woolly mammoths are no longer roaming the earth. They've left us clues about their lives. In frozen regions like Siberia, scientists have discovered well-preserved mammoth fossils. Some mammoths are so well preserved that they still have fur, tusks, and even skin. By studying these fossils, scientists have learned a lot about what mammoths look like, how they lived, and what challenges they faced. For example, fossils show evidence of worn-down tusks, which suggests they used them frequently to dig through ice. Some mammoths even have healed injuries, showing that they survived battles with other animals, or maybe even other mammoths. You might be wondering, could mammoths ever come back? Believe it or not, some scientists are exploring the possibility. Using DNA from preserved mammoth remains, they are trying to understand if it's possible to bring mammoths back through a process called de-extinction. Imagine seeing a woolly mammoth alive today, maybe even in a special nature reserve. Scientists believe that by studying mammoth DNA, they can bring traits of these animals back by combining them with those of modern-day elephants, which are their closest relatives. If they succeed, it could offer us a way to help restore ecosystems that were once shaped by large animals like mammoths. What would you ask a mammoth if you could meet one? Would you want to know what their favorite food was? Or maybe how they stayed warm during the coldest nights? It's amazing to think that science could bring these animals back into our world one day. So, what have we learned on this journey to the Ice Age? Woolly mammoths were incredible creatures, perfectly designed to live in a world of ice and snow. They had long, thick fur, impressive tusks, and strong family bonds that helped them survive. Even though they're gone, they've left us with so much to learn and explore. Now it's your turn to keep the Ice Age adventure going. Try drawing your own woolly mammoth, or maybe even an entire herd. Think about what they'd look like with their thick fur, curved tusks, and friendly eyes. You could imagine them walking across snowy plains, huddling together for warmth, or digging through snow to find a tasty meal. Thanks for joining us on this frozen adventure into the past. Who knows what other amazing Ice Age discoveries await us? Remember, the journey of discovery doesn't end here. There's always more to explore, so keep learning, keep imagining, and maybe one day you'll make your own Ice Age discovery.